This is made from a lovely wood from Oregon called quilted maple, and we book match it so the pattern's the same on both sides, but actually it's not the same because this side it's bubbles and this is hollows, so it's a kind of an optical illusion, you see. It's a jazz guitar, and it's made with an awful lot pricier wood than the instrument it was originally copied from. This is a copy of a 1929 Gibson archtop, and it's an archtop with a flat back, and in and around that time they changed to carved back because the flat back had a problem. It used to dampen when you put it against your tummy. So now we use archback as well. So, but on this thing, an archback piece for that would have been at least €300. So we didn't want to stretch that high. I've used a maple neck then to balance, to keep the whiteness there, with a nice big piece of dark wood wenge from Africa. The front is an arch top. It means it's carved from a big plank of wood, usually in two halves, and you dig down deep and you make the contour that you see here. And it's made to be kind of like the violin. It has this very special way of vibrating, whereas the flat top is pulled, this one is pushed. And the resistance in the arching, that's called the arching, that helps to resist the downward pressure. Of course, inside you have a couple of sticks, which we call the tone bars, and you can tune them to make a specific sound if you want. Well, I myself started instrument building in 1976, and by the end of that year I had built my first classical guitar, and I took it home and casually showed it to my father and said, I made this in London, Dad, you know, what do you think of it? He said, there was no resonance in that. And I said, what do you know about resonance? He said, oh, you wouldn't have known, but the Doyle family have been making violins since 1890. And I said, oh, you never told me that before. He said, yeah, I made them myself from 1922 onwards. And so there were over 300 fiddles had been made by the Doyles, and there was 5 of them altogether had a hand in it. For example, my father French polished all of the Doyle instruments because he was a brilliant French polisher. And my uncle Christy turned all the pegs on a little miniature Boxley lathe. I remember looking at it before he died in '77. A Boxley was a little tiny lathe which did very, very small pieces, and so he could do the little button for the back that held the tailpiece, and he did all the pegs for every instrument the Doyles made. And he was kind of an engineer as well. He actually himself made a violin that he had actually dug out of a plank of wood. In other words, he didn't bend the sides at all, he just dug out the middle, and then he glued on the front onto it. And at that time ebony was very hard to get, so he got some ebony veneer from a piano maker, and he used that for the fingerboard and made the fingerboard in pine. But that was the main interesting one, you could say, from the Doyles. Apart from that, they made instruments with a very tiny scroll. That's the nice head on them. And I asked my dad, where did you get the plans or idea for that? And he said, oh, it's just an old fiddle lying at home. So we've no idea where it came from, but the Dutch seemed to favour a small head in the 18th century, so maybe it was a Dutch instrument that he found lying around, I don't know. But yeah, my granddad was a station master, and about 1987 I went up to Westport railway station. I met the retired station master there, and he told me he remembered my granddad in the locomotive service area actually making violins. Here we have a piece of ebony. It's actually a tree, 29 to 33 kilos. They cut them square in order to fit on the lorry to transport them. And the one on the left is the actual sapwood of the tree, so you can just about see the ebony coming through in the middle of it. If you look at the top, it's a circle. Then you have the normal ebony where we've cut it in half, so you can see that. Next to that is the zebrano, and then a bit of bubinga. But of course there was lots of stuff already out there, and you could buy Brazilian rosewood until 1987, 10 years after. I remember the last price I was quoted was £200, which was astronomical then for a back of a guitar. You'd have to charge a lot. This was £200 without even putting the chisel near the wood. So that was out for me. I bought the Indian rosewood eventually. I did get in 1977 one set of jacaranda, which was the yellow version of the palisander, which is the more sought after stuff. And later again I got sisu, which was another branch of the Brazilian rosewood. It was a beautiful sounding wood, but a pain to bend. It bent very badly, and it was a very, very hard wood. But I bought 20 sets of that at one time, and I never bought it again because it's just not worth it when it's difficult. I use Paduk, Zebrano, all of these different things, Ubinga, that were freely available in the 70s, and nobody was using them, and they were very, very cheap. So for me, I used to buy big sets, and I could make 2 mandolins out of one set. So you could safely say that for about 20 years before alternative woods were coming out, I was already well familiar with what the sound, what they did, and how good they were. And I've kept that up today. I teach here in my school, the Irish School of Luthery, and I teach them to treat all the woods as being completely usable. They have different qualities. Some make them a soft sound, some make them a hard sound. I made a guitar with poplar, which is very easy to find locally in any part of the world. And it was the most stunning sound. It was a little parlour guitar, made it for a Japanese girl. And everyone she played it to couldn't believe the volume out of that little guitar.